ESSA. ESSA, ESSA, ESSA. ESSA. Not to be confused with the word essay, which has nothing to do with this. ESSA is an education law. The acronym stands for Every Student Succeeds Act. Now, if you look at the name of the law, it's very similar to another name of another education law. Can you guess it? Every Student Succeeds Act. Can you guess what other law kind of sounds similar? To me, it's the No Child Left Behind. And if you look at both of the names of the words, the both of the words in the names, um, Every Student Succeeds Act and No Child Left Behind, they kind of mean the same thing, and they're both education laws. So the question is, why is there two education laws that kind of have you know very similar names? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Every student the Every Student Succeeds Act is replacing No Child Left Behind. Now, so now you know that both of these are education laws and they kind of have similar names. The next question would be like, okay, so what's inside of these laws? What do these laws do? These laws are basically requirements that states have to follow when it comes to education, and like these requirements are about testing, teachers, low performing schools, and also standards. And these weren't the first big education laws. Obviously, the Every Student Succeeds Act wasn't the first one, and No Child Left Behind wasn't the first big one. It wasn't until no, I mean the first real big one was in 1965 when President Lyndon B. Johnson. Gosh, I have a hard time saying that word, that name. He passed the Elementary and Secondary Act, which was a big education law that he passed at the time. And every 5 years, this law would get renewed, all the way until 2001, where President Bush made the No Child Left Behind. And then 14 years later, Obama in 2015 created him and other people obviously created passed the Every Student Succeeds Act. So now that you know that both of these are education laws and they have to do with all this stuff. So what about it? What about testing and teachers and underperforming school and standards? What about it? Let me tell you. Testing first of all. What does ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, say about testing? Kids have to take English and math tests from third grade all the way to eighth grade every year, and then they have to take another English and math test in high school. Now, here's where the big differences come in. Under No Child Left Behind, uh, states and districts uh, didn't really have the power. The federal government had the power, and they made the rules, and they picked the tests and everything. Under ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, the states and the districts get to choose. So under testing, the states get to choose what tests they're going to be giving to the schools. Moving on to teacher quality. How are they picking teachers for this? How do you know if a teacher's qualified? Well, under No Child Left Behind, teachers would have to be highly qualified, meaning they would have to have a bachelor's degree and be have a state certification to teach in that specific subject. And then a couple years later, after No Child Left Behind, they said, you know what, let's loosen up the laws a little bit. Now, what you can do is have teachers' evaluations and scores are kind of looked into, but mostly it's a teacher evaluation thing. Under the ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, now the states can choose whether they want highly qualified or they want to do teacher evaluations. Next thing on the list is the low performing schools. Now, states have to identify and fix the bottom 5% of low performing schools, and they also have to help the schools with high dropout rates and find out why this is going on. And they have to identify and report that to the federal government every 3 years. Now, what about standards? the states before during No Child Left Behind, the federal government picked the standards that the states had to follow. Now under the Every Student Succeeds Act, now the states can pick the standards and they don't have to do Common Core, but they can if they want to. Now the strengths about this is that the states get to choose almost everything. The federal government was doing everything before, but now the states can say, you know what, I think this is best for my state, so I'm going to do this. As for weaknesses, it's kind of hard to tell as of now what the weaknesses are of the Every Student Succeeds Act, mainly because this law isn't in effect yet. The ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, doesn't go into effect until August of 2017. So that's going to be the 2017/2018 school year. And for the most part, this wasn't everything, under the ESSA, but these are the main points under the ESSA. And as for how much is this going to affect and change learning and teachers mostly, it might change nothing actually. The states now have the power to say, you know what, I don't want to change anything, and that's completely fine under the ESSA. But it can actually change a lot of things when it comes to learning, because now the schools can say, well, I didn't like what we were doing before, so we're going to completely change it. But like I said before, uh, we can't really tell until August of 2017 when the program starts.